All right, so Ms. Bedford, I believe it's your last name, right? Melissa. So I'm gonna look at your assignment, and yeah, I can see the eyes. You had a little bit of problem, but that's okay, right? So there's a couple of things that I want you to understand, but I think you know what I'm gonna do, and I'm just jumping on different conversations here because I'm thinking out loud. That's what it really is, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a tutorial that shows people how to make better expressions, right? Now, yeah, because I think that is the key to make expressions a little bit more easier. So the way I look at this is a little bit more artistic, more creative, right? As opposed to technical. Yes, this is somewhat technical. I mean, you know, the rigging component. And in this case, you have to make different facial expressions that will, at the end, you'll end up with something that you can actually change, right? So now my recommendation would be, turn them all off. Yeah, that you start more with a neutral face, meaning if you're standing in front of me and you have a neutral look where your mouth is not up or not down, but it's more relaxed into the neutral position. Same with the eyelids, eyebrows, everything's all just reset, right? That's the face you want to start. You know, the funny thing is when I'm making a model, I usually make them as within neutral face expression. And when people start criticizing, you know, saying, "Oh, the face looks too boring," or this or that, right? I kind of laugh at that because I know that's going to change eventually, right? The expressions will come later, right? So that's just a comment that I always ignore because obvious people lack that knowledge. In this case, I don't really see a neutral face on any one of these. So we're going to have to build one that's more neutral, right? So the surprise, mad, and sad. And this should be a neutral as well that puts it back to normal. All right, so that looks like it's surprised, right? But I don't know if it's surprised. The person looks more like he's excited to see somebody, right? Then the mad expression, right? So that's mad. Now, there's a lot of things you have to consider, what muscle groups and everything moves. Anatomy, plays a role on this. But you know what? I'm going to simplify this as well, right? Because the more complicated this sounds, the least you want to do it, right? And my methods are more designed to save time and get it right on the first round, or at least the second round, if that's nature, right? So I'll show you later on today, hopefully today anyways, an example that you guys can sort of see in what the mentality is that goes into creating facial expressions. Now, a lot of people, what they do is they have a mirror next to them so they can see their expressions. The problem is, though, everybody overacts. That's the problem, right? So when you're making an expression, you tend to over-exaggerate those expressions just to get something like angry expressions, right? So the rule is, whatever you see in that mirror, do it at least 40% less than what you see, right? Because then it'll look a little bit more organic and more natural, more than it's then staged, right? So I can tell, like, when some people actually use their face and they express, right? But then again, you don't have to bring it all the way to 1. You can bring the slider up to like 60 or something like that, right? And that usually ends it up making it look a little more natural. All the way up makes it a bit unnatural. So it really is up to you at that point, right? But there are other things that you have to also consider. For example, if I go to this guy here, and we animate, let's say, sad. What's happening right now is the jaw is not moving at all, right? But the lower lip goes up. When your mouth goes into more of a pouty look, the jaw also moves up, right? So same thing when you have this expression, right? It's not the upper lip that actually moves up and everything just stays still, but it's the lower jaw that moves downwards, right? Or moves upwards as well. It all depends on what you're doing, right? But anyways, I just wanted to say that to you. Now, the one thing I do want to point out is that the topology which looks good, right? Now, the only problem with your topology is that I would have actually made the loops go around the mouth, right? So, yeah, the loop would have come like this, right? Because the nose, I usually include that into the loop as well. And also, if you want to make the crease on the cheek, right, that will serve as a good point of reference when when, of course, when you have a topology like this, it's going to give you more of a problem getting that natural crease, right? So you want to reconsider at least the amount of loops. The loop right here is too small. It should be extended from the top of the nose all the way around the chin, right? The eyes are great, right? The eyes are great. But I know what the problem is, the modeling portion that you're having. The eyes should not go, this looks more like a Pixar animation than a real person, right? So you have to look at images of real eyes, right? Because right now, this should be more the opposite, right? Not inwards, but outwards, right? Because right now it's going out like that. If you look at your own eyeball, your eyeball doesn't do that. It's actually wrapped around the shape of your eye, right? So you have to bring those vertices out instead of inward. So let me show you real quick. So I'm just going to move these guys fairly quick. Move it forward, right? If it lets me, I don't know, it's so locked. Everything seems okay. Woohoo, it's not working. It's probably because it's a blend shape. So what I would have to do is I would have to do it into another model. So let me clone this guy over here. So this guy won't have any blend shapes whatsoever, right? It should say here blend shape, but it's not. So now I'm gonna hide everything else. Shift I, right? And then zoom in. And to fix the eye, oh, that's interesting. That's not good either, right? Okay, so let me try it again. Make sure that there's no eye pulled out. Okay, and then get rid of everything else, zoom in, and then let's try it again. So it's quite simple than you think. Okay, so now all we have to do is we'll hit an edge. Why not? And then we're gonna just pull this forward to make a bag under the eye, and same thing with the upper eye. right? And now maybe I have too much selected here, so I'm going to just deselect this, right? And again, I'm just trying to emphasize this shape. I'm going to go to vertices. But you get the idea, right? I'm reconstructing the roundness of the eye. So you see it's a little bit more bubbly, right? I know what you're having a hard time, and it is one of the challenging parts of the face is the eyes, right? So now I'm gonna go ahead and grab this. So picky, there we go. Right? When you have a line close to another line, you're gonna get an edge, right? So it's better to split them out. Select the ones that I have selected here because we don't want that, right? And just reposition them. So even doing something like that already starts to change the dynamics, right? And then of course, if we were to create an edge and grab that edge, pull it out a little bit, just a little bit, maybe like that, and then pull out another one again. Right, we're gonna go inside the head and then check out what's happening in this area. So I'm gonna take the scale tool and scale it on the Z-axis, right? So it sort of makes it sort of that shape. And then of course I'm gonna use the rotate tool. I'm gonna snap that right into my reset. Nope, I gotta go to default. There we go. And change it to world coordinates. Next, we're gonna rotate it somewhere around right here and use a scale tool and make it a little bit bigger. I'm trying not to overly exaggerate this function because it's gonna go through the head if that's the case. So I'm gonna move it down a little bit. And then of course, make another selection. Right, so now we're making the inside of the eye, right? If for some reason this still bugs you, we can then just grab this, scale on the y-axis, right? To make him a little bit more rounded, right? Pushing it in also may correct some stuff, right? So do we have to seal this? Not necessarily, right? Because there's going to be a sphere in there and it's going to cover that, right? So that's the thing. So now the mouth is another issue, right? So it looks a little bit too thin. So let me show you real quick what I would do to fix this. I would select the faces and then use the letter B for soft selection. And then the soft selection, we can start to shape it a little bit more to a mouth, right? I'm going to grab the bottom right here and move this down. And then do this again like this. Right? And then of course, we're going to go and grab this and bring it forward. Give it more volume, right? Thickness, right? You want this person to look more like a person, right? This is going to go up, right? So my final thoughts. He still looks a little bit cartoony, but that might not be a bad thing, right? So it's just a matter of learning how to adjust to make it either look more real or more cartoon, right? But that is your call. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it like that, and hopefully I'll have a tutorial done today. If not, I'll have it in the next 2 days. Okay, see you then.